Hello everyone, welcome to the WICCI ASH Talks. Today I have the UP WICCI ASH Council here with me, a couple of members from the council for sure. So I'd like to quickly introduce all three of them. Noopur here is a practicing advocate. She is practicing in the courts of Delhi since 2007. She did her law from Campus Law Center. She's been empaneled with Haryana government to look into the cases in Delhi. In 2016, she was nominated as the chairperson of the local committee in Delhi. And this is her third term now. So she's been looking into several matters as far as the local committee is concerned. Noopur, we would want to speak to you about that as well on another day, even though today is not that day. But look forward to talking to you on that experience as well. And in December 2020, she joined WICCI as Delhi Anti-Sexual Harassment Council member. And then she decided that the state of UP must also have a council and decided to then launch that in UP for since 2021. So that's where Noopur is at. For Preeti is a treasurer at Northern India Regional Council of ICSI, which stands for the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. She is also the first lady treasurer in 50 years. So I think a couple of claps for that. She was the managing committee member of Noida chapter for the term 2019 to 22. She's been the chairperson of Noida chapter for the year 2021, and she's now elected as the council member for Northern India region for the term 2023 to 26. She's also a corporate sector professional. She's an experience of 26 years, and she's a practicing company secretary. So that's where Preeti is. And Namrata is an independent legal practitioner. She's a company director, mediator, 1090 Women Powerline counselor. She's a trainer and a humanitarian. She is the president of Indian Lawyers Association Agra chapter as well, and also the vice president of WICCI ASH Council at Uttar Pradesh. She has had over 16 years of experience and built her credence with advocacy on the issues affecting children, women, trans folks. She's also done 495 plus literary workshops on child sexual abuse prevention, and POCSO and juvenile justice and child marriage and child trafficking, domestic violence, among other things. So she's been able to empower and create social impact in the lives of 5,500 educators, 270,000 students, which is a lot in rural as well as in urban India. So kudos to that as well. Thank you so much for joining me. It's an absolute pleasure for me to speak to you. And I'm really looking to understand the ground realities in the state, where you are functioning as council members. So I'll just jump right into it. Noopur, first off, I think the question to you that you decided to start the council here in UP, and you felt the need for it. So first off, where did the need come from, or the idea come from, and yeah, how did you decide to do this?
Yeah, sure. Shivangi, thank you for having this conversation actually. And this needs, which you say, why that there's need in Sexual Harassment Council in UP. See, I'm staying in Delhi for last more than 20 years, but before that I'm from UP. I am from UP and my home is still in UP. And I know when I was in school, I did my schooling in UP, and I know there is a lot of sexual harassment happening every day, everywhere, every street, every home. In fact, I'll say, and we are not, we don't know how to speak about it because I belong from UP. I know how the mentality functions there. When my parents shifted from UP to North, in UP only, from two-tier city to three-tier city, one-tier city, then also, and I started working here, then in my home, we started speaking about this topic. Before that, it was not even, it's a taboo. My parents are educated ones from the, even from the two-tier city. We are from the educated lot. They had sent me in the hostel. I studied in hostel. I stayed in the hostel. I was in Delhi, and in Delhi also there's a lot of street harassment and everywhere. but there's a lot of taboo in speaking about. So when I was in Delhi Council, I know there were so many incidents which are happening there. I also know in UP also, because Delhi and UP are neighboring states. In UP also, there's so much happening. In NCR region, and there is a rural UP, and there's no one to talk about it. That's why I felt there's a need for having councils on those areas also, because UP, if I believe, there are very few cities which we can call the metropolitan cities. There are very few, and it's not at par of like Bombay or Delhi or Bangalore. They even those metropolitan are not at par with Delhi or these cities. So yes, their level of understanding, their level of thinking, the culture, the family values, which they think that, oh, these are the family values. Those values are the ones which stop people talking about it. So that is the need, that we should speak about it. And when I belong from UP, I have my friends and family and circle are from UP. When I start talking about it, so obviously those people, when they will see my post, when they'll see my social media pages, they will realize, yes, this is the topic which we should talk about it, because now the internet is everywhere. They know. So when someone from their circle starts speaking about it, then only they'll realize, yes, that there is something which we should talk about it. So that's where the idea comes from, that UP must have their council. And at that time, it was none. So I started thinking about that.
That sounds wonderful. On that note, since you mentioned also, the status that has been, and the differences also that may exist compared to, say, a Mumbai or a Delhi, in terms of even the commercial spaces or the businesses, so to speak. I'm sure there will be some amount of difference between, the commercial setups in Bombay or a Delhi compared to, the cities in UP as well. But as far as the employers that you see there, do you see a certain level of compliance and an awareness in them? Do they now, after, I mean, it's almost now about 10 years that this law came. So do you see any kind of a shift in thinking that, okay, this law also needs compliance, or do you think there is still lack of awareness
I
as
think
far
the
as the
Preeti
corporate
ma'am
sector?
will be the right. The Preeti ma'am will be the better to answer that. Being a company secretary, she's
So, yes, I
yes.
think what I can add from my side is that uh, this is an act which we see mainly compliance when we're doing secretarial audits in companies. Overall, would say the compliance and the awareness is much better in private sector. Still, when we, would visit MNCs and, big size listed companies, the compliance, the awareness, maybe the workshops, are being held. But when I come to public sector, if I talk about government companies, I think situation is quite bad there. So when we try and, when we visit those companies, we try and let them know that these are the compliances to be done compulsorily, that also reporting has to be done to the board of directors. Many are not aware. And then there's also lack of awareness generally among the employees. So there's no, sensitization or awareness programs being conducted. And also I've seen, the cases are happening. It's not that the cases are not happening. Like Noopur was saying, I think harassment is there. Even in, educated circles, sometimes you've seen cases with company secretaries. See, imagine such educated girls and still cases happening with maybe positions at director level. And the company secretary girls who's just complaining to her boss, he's also not able to take a stand in front of a powerful person. So everything is still happening, and there needs to be more awareness. The situation is bad. There are no awareness about internal complaints committee. I have even gone to the extent of checking notice boards that, is the proper constitution, the contact numbers, email IDs. How can a person contact someone from the internal complaints committee if there's So I think much more needs to be done, especially I would say in government sector as compared to private sector.
May I just add something here, if you won't mind? So, ma'am said in private sector there is an awareness. What my experience is that people at the management level, the director level, they know that there is a POSH law, but they don't want to pass that on. And that is my experience regarding the private sector. They don't want to give trainings and everything to their company, to their employees, and because they say if we don't tell them, they don't know they are right. There won't be any complaint. And that is my experience. They know POSH laws. They ask me, they consult me, whatever my experience is. They consult me. Okay, what is to be mandatory done? Okay, our CA or CS will fill the form and the audit will be done. Right, they'll do it. But practically, what my experience is that they are not complying with it.
And
That's
as per my experience, yeah, Noopur, I agree, kind of agree with Noopur and Preeti, ma'am. As per my experience, I've dealt, maximum with the educational institutes. So they all have the policy in place on paper. Okay, but there are very few institutes who comply with it in in practicality. The practical application of those policies which are in place just because it has been mandated by law. That's why they are maintaining such policies. So up to a certain level, yeah, they have. But in many institutes over here in UP, I found out that they have not even constituted the members who will be there, who will be nominated in the ICC. It's also not there. Only the policy is there. So as regards when the compliance is concerned, they are somewhere, but I would again take it in a progressive way and in a positive way. Why? Because some 5-6 years down the line, these policies were also not in place. So at least a good step, at least in our state. Our state is supposed to be a state with maximum number of crime against women and children. When we compare the position, the crime scenario of that is prevalent in UP vis-a-vis other states. So from that kind of culture, from that kind of atmosphere, if you are following some certain policies and if you are aware that there is something known as POSH that you need to comply with and that you need to constitute an ICC, and if any woman employee of your organization is feeling violated or harassed, she can come and she can report. At least now women have say. At least policy wise they have policies are in place. What needs to be done as organization that WICCI is doing is sensitization, awareness, and bringing all the stakeholders together so that we implement this perfectly and effectively. Over to you, Shivangi.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing in all these nuances. I think, Noopur, I completely agree with you. I probably, this is one of those standard things pan-India that, the moment an organization thinks about creating awareness, the first thought is that if we create awareness, if you talk about sexual harassment and you give examples, you will literally give ideas to people and they're going to use those ideas, implement them and harass more. Or the fact that the lesser they know, the better it is. And probably
Right.
that's the reason why, not putting up information on notice boards and ensuring that you're complying with the law, but at the same time, not making it very public because you don't want people going about filing complaints. So it's a very tactical approach, midway approach to sort of comply, but still be protected. And which, when you were saying this, it kind of reminded me that a lot of times people do ask that, when we already had the Vishaka guidelines, why did you need a law for it? Because, you made a specific law for women and all of that. And this is what I often say that, Vishaka guidelines existed since 97. Half of the organizations did not make the ICs. Now we've had a law for almost like 10 years and the condition is still almost as bad in spite of having penalties.
Right.
So it talks a lot about, the how how stuck we are and not able to move forward. But
and how much we need to do more in this domain.
Exactly. But listening to you, Namrata, it's at least feeling as if there has been some forward movement, which is a good thing to happen.
There's
Of
been
course,
some
there's
forward
always
movement, but I think it will still take a few years before, we can say that someone who's actually harassed will always have those guts also to complain. He needs to have that confidence that action will be taken. And sometimes when the idea is to first brush it under the carpet, kind of discourage her, then I recently had one more girl, she was like very worried for her family. Will I speak up? I hope my family will not be affected.
Yeah. How, since you bring that up, how do you feel about the street harassment that exists? Do you still see, acid attack instances happening, or, a lot of like stalking or threatening, people? Is that still a culture, or is this my exaggerated understanding from, as an outsider?
So, Namrata ma'am, will you take this?
Yeah, I will take this. I'm saying this, when it comes to street harassment, thanks to technology that we have cell phones, and a lot of people are clicking these people, these hooligans who are harassing, or, they are the troublemongers and they are troubling, a girl or a woman on streets. So they are acting as good Samaritans, and they are recording their videos and uploading it on social media platforms. So and the police also have become quite proactive. Post COVID, I'm seeing a change in street harassment cases in my city. And this is see, this will be there, molestation will be there as long as there are women, as long as there are men, and whatever is happening, and as long as we don't sensitize boys also about, what is the way they need to behave, because now there are laws in place in which they can be put under scanner and they can be put behind bars. So unless and until we from home, try to sensitize our boys about it also, I do feel that there is a need in specifically in schools and, college going students. We need to inculcate these boys and sensitize them to respect girls, to respect women, and, to stand against someone who's harassing. Okay, don't just become a, first responder, a mute spectator. You have to react, you have to address, and you have to actually stop being friends with such kind of people who have the audacity to harass someone, or exploit or molest someone on the streets.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. What has also been the experience as far as schools are concerned? I mean, especially with people, young adults who are younger than 18.
See, schools, I'm telling you, because I do take up a lot of sensitization, on, schools front, whether they are, government schools, government-run schools, or private schools, or boarding schools as well, all over India. Not only particularly in UP, but everywhere. And schools now ought to comply not only with POSH law, but there is another law, which is POCSO, and they need to constitute even the POCSO committees. So schools schools have greater responsibilities, put on their shoulders when it comes to compliance, when it comes to addressing such kind of situations. But I personally have had done a survey of 4,500 schools in my particular city. I was the first person in my city 13 years before who's started doing mass campaigns on child sexual abuse. Okay, so when I did the survey of 4,500 schools in my city, I found out some very hard-hitting facts. And one of the fact was that out of these many schools at 13 years from now, before today, there were hardly 15 to 20 schools which had counselors. So we have come a long way when we have laws in place, and we are not only following them, trying to follow them, because every now and then there is a circular either by the Ministry of HRD or by the the CBSE or the other boards which are pressuring the schools that they ought to have some kind of SOPs and some kind of protocols and some kind of compliances when such kind of cases are coming. And now in schools there is a new post COVID, when even the online education became completely online education was introduced to most of the schools in India, and in UP also it was introduced. So then now there is like 400% spike in the rate of online abuse, online sexual abuse, not only with young adults, but children as young as 12 to 14 years of age. So a lot is happening. We are just progressing in a way, but yes, new crimes are emerging, I must say. So the scope of sexual harassment is also widening. It is going on online. So it's high time we need to tap that also, and somebody or a council like WICCI can come forward and take a proactive step to sensitize and to address these kind of new issues that are emerging with each passing day.
In fact, when I approached the schools, what I had seen is the schools are now aware of POCSO, as Namrata said, but they are talking about the child sexual abuse and how to deal with that. But then again, the schools are forgetting about POSH, that the POSH is also applicable on them. And it's just that they're complying with one law but forgetting the other. But POSH and POCSO has to go hand in hand. They have to, in the schools, it has to be merged, because their teachers and student relationships are also there, that it can be abused, can be through both of it. So it has to be seen. The schools are should be more sensitive, but we are telling them, but it's a long way. We are trying to do it.
Yeah. So what I also hear you say is that to some extent, then schools are more focused on POCSO comparatively than POSH. Wow.
True.
Yes. So POCSO has to be there and POSH also has to be there. But they are just forgetting that, okay, there's a POSH also. They are just focused on POCSO then.
Yeah, because POCSO is criminal law and POSH is not criminal law.
Okay.
This is the difference, if any school, do not follow the whatever compliance they ought to follow under POCSO, the school, the principal, the director, the management, they all can, be put behind bars. So they have greater responsibility, and they are scared that they ought to follow POCSO. But in following POCSO, they are forgetting that, the teachers, most of the 80% of population of our educators, whether they are schools or they are colleges or professional institutes, they are females. And we ought to honor them, we ought to respect them, and there is a law in which is in place, and they need to comply with it. So they are forgetting it. And as a body, as a proactive body, we must ensure that we go to the schools and colleges and specifically education institutes and at least try to bridge this gap and make them understand how important sensitization of POSH law is there to for the safety and security of women who are working there. Because if teachers feel unsafe, what will they do? How will they protect and safeguard the children?
Right. So thank you for stating these facts, but this actually brought me to another question. That given that you work with schools and with multiple students, and there's a lot of different kinds of audience that you're covering. How do you currently see the perception with respect to trans folks and the level of inclusion or the acceptance in that sense?
I will say that in many schools, the Western schools, Noida, NCR Noida, and Greater Noida and Ghaziabad. So these schools, even Agra, people at least are aware that there is a community, trans community. Now they are talking about it and they are okay with it, but the majority of our districts in UP, they are still not aware, and children, specifically these young adults, they just laugh it out because they are not aware of so many things. And that is why but UP has done a commendable work when it comes to constituting transgender welfare board. So even Delhi doesn't have a transgender welfare board as per the transgender persons welfare act, so which is very recently passed. So our state has constituted it. And as I told you that I work for trans right as well. So we have also tried to, engage these young adults in schools as well as in colleges that have, start having an attitude of adapting and including, people of all genders and respect them. So we have kind of we are just trying to break the ice and engage these young adults. And I must share one experience with you. In fact, that was very heartwarming for us. So there's this school, there's this international board school, and we kind of sensitize them, and where we took some members of the transgender community and sensitized them about their problems and how they were not simply existing and not living in our country, and they had no voting rights before the NANSA judgment was passed. So some children were at that point of time when they got to know that okay, there is something known as trans community or trans women or trans men or LGBTQI plus community. They just came and they just hugged those people from trans community, and they just cried like anything, and they were feeling so sorry for them, and they actually had taken the pledge that now they will sensitize more students and more younger generation people about other genders as well. So unless and until this young brigade, our future generation, unless and until we awaken them, unless and until we sensitize them, we won't be able to bridge the gap. And at that point of time, even I had tears in my eyes. So when someone is saluting them and someone is just hugging them, then okay, don't feel alone. If your parents are not accepting you and you have the courage to come out of the closet, then we are there. We are accepting you. You regard us as our brothers and sisters. So just children just pour their heart out to them. They don't feel that you are neglected, in the society. We are for you. And this is the future generation in UP, in a state like UP, which is so engaging and inclusive. So what matters actually is that how you break the ice and how you bring the sensitive topic among the young adults, and they have their point of views, and the rest is history. We can try to bridge the gap. At least we must have such kind of platforms in which people from those communities can come out in open and speak and sensitize more about their problems and issues.
Yeah, again, I think I completely resonate with you on this. And I do feel also that when you're younger, your mind is so much more flexible and open. So it's very, it's much more comfortable and easier to mold a particular child in a thought than an adult. I mean, of course, that can also be done, but it takes just way more time because there are so many cultural ideas and thoughts and a lifestyle and experience that already accumulates for each one of us, that it becomes very tough for us to go back and start being flexible again. So you're absolutely right there. And
So,
children often
right. So actually, children take learn the biasness and fears from the elders. So when the schools started engaging in that, when the parents started talking about it, I'm sure that slowly and gradually, but this will happen. Thank you, Namrata, for sharing this today.
But which also
Yes.
brings me to the topic that now we've spoken about children. What about adults, Preeti? What do you see happening in the corporate sector as far as the trans folks are concerned?
I think still the acceptability is increasing. In fact, like Namrata has shared, the government has taken some steps in this, that everywhere where, where gender is to be mentioned, there are now 3, male, female, and in all forms. You would have seen maybe Noopur that generally at all places where it used to be just 2, male, female, now there's a 3rd gender, transgender added. So overall, the acceptability, I think, and that yes, you can openly come and declare, that has increased. And all these, I think, the movies that have been made, the media, everything is contributing. So it is definitely, the situation is much better.
Right, I agree. The movies like Badhai Do and the recent, like, we know the marriage equality topic is going on in Supreme Court, in the Constitution bench, and so many things, and everything is now in public domain. So when we talk about it, I always say, when we talk about it, then change happens. The people start talking about it, they start thinking about it, they start expressing their opinions about it, and somewhere, gradually shift comes there. So even if they are against it, then also they are, when giving their reasons, then why they are against it, then someone must be there to give their counter reasons, then why it is okay to accept it. So when we talk about it, definitely the shift is going to happen, and it starts going on. At least people start talking about all these things. Otherwise, these were the considered as taboo topics, which we don't want to talk about it. But now it is.
Totally agreed. And a lot of times the laws also that come into picture, they come into picture because of the changing society and the changing opinions that we bring to the table. So I think that kind of conversation is very, very important. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you on that. Just the last question now from my end, that as far as the government is concerned and POSH is concerned, do you see any steps being taken by the state government on the compliance front?
Right. So, what my 2 cents are, it is getting done, and it's more because people are starting asking about it. Because people are starting discussing, when the internet is there, they are, many people are on social media, LinkedIn, on Facebook and Instagram, and everywhere the poshes are talking about. And so they ask, where is my LC, where is my IC? And then the government has started working. For example, as when we started Wiki Council, we took on ourselves that we, in all 75 districts, we file RTIs. Tell us about your LCs. Where are all this? So the response which we received, some districts are totally clueless what happened, and someone says, okay, we had it like 4 or 5 years long back, and they don't even know whether they happened. They don't even know whether it's under DM or it's under DPO. They are not aware. Some says, okay, it's Mahila Thana ka work. It's not under us. And then from the department, we received no, in all 75 districts there is LC. So departments don't know, but yes. But now recently we are starting because when we started asking questions, the LCs are starting coming out. Namrata can put more light into it because we recently had a talk about it. So Namrata can share her experience.
Yeah. So, some nearby districts I personally visited and personally contacted the DPOs, and they had shown me that, okay, the policy was there about the constitution of LC and everything is there in place on paper. But they are looking for eligible candidates who could, occupy those positions of office bearers and position holders as, IC members. And I ensured on my personal level with limited means that LCC must be there. And now all those districts do have proper LCC from this year. They have it in place. They have actually found out the right eligible candidate for their positions also. And let's hope so that they will do some work which is worthwhile in the interest of safeguarding the women's rights in future. Otherwise, we are always there to help them and to guide them.
So I think
So,
a lot
yeah. So I will just say, sorry. Yeah.
Yes,
I would just say
everything
that
can
we have
also
already
be.
started taking baby steps. Sorry, Preeti ma'am. I will just end this thing that we have already started somewhere. Earlier, we were nowhere. Now, at least we started taking baby steps. Slowly but steadily, we are reaching there. But it will take some time for us to reach at a particular, or to achieve a particular milestone. Yes, ma'am. Now you can go ahead.
Yes, agree. I think, but if more of these things can also be brought online, where if someone searches for information, it is handy and readily available, it will further help. So, like Namrata has put it, a lot has been done, but I think the pressure must go on to improve the situation at every stage.
Right. So right now LCs are starting coming up, and now the next step is to make them approachable and available to the common masses. Then how to contact them.
Sure. Thank you for bringing in. I think we are ending on a great note. I think I'm going to use this as a quote, the pressure must go on. It does sound excellent, and I think that's what is needed for at least the next couple of years. Thank you so much for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure talking to all of you. I think we should do this more often. Just learning about what's been happening is really, really insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shivangi, for this initiative.
And we'll be looking forward to hear more about the other states also, what's going on there.
Absolutely, yes.
And we are in it together.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.